How do you build backlinks in 2026? On this video, I'm going to show you my strategies that I use for my website and my clients. And I'll just start with saying, you cannot just buy yourself backlinks and think that it's going to work that way. Yes, that strategy might have worked a few years ago, but Google's getting a lot smarter. And I'm going to show you a lot of different strategies on how you can prevent yourself, because there's a lot of companies just selling backlinks and mentioning that you can get links super easy, but that's not the case. My name is Jose. I have over 12 years of SEO experience, and I'm bringing all my insights that I have learned over time and currently using today to help you guys out with backlinks. So with backlinks, it's very difficult. It is probably the most challenging part with SEO, because you can't just buy your backlinks. There's a lot of vendors that say promise you with high domain authorities and stuff like that, but in reality, it can actually harm your websites if you buy too many backlinks. So my tips are gonna help you to try to combat that and find alternatives on how to build audio links. All right, so first tip that has really worked really well for us is starting a guest post program. So if your website already has decent traffic, you can start your own guest program. Now, for those of you who don't know what a guest post program, essentially how guest post programs work, it allows writers to contribute a post on your blog. But what we do differently here is that we require some sort of link exchange. Meaning, if they write for our blog, that means they provide an opportunity for us as well. And this has been probably the best strategy for me and my clients. Now, we have very strict guidelines as far as who can write, what the topics they can write about. But it is a brilliant idea, especially if you already have a decent domain authority and have a lot of traffic. Now, if you don't have a lot of traffic and your website is from zero, I wouldn't advise this. I would advise instead to write guest posts on other websites. Now, that one's a really hard strategy, and I'll provide really helpful tips on that. But for those websites who already have decent traffic, I would recommend that. Second, go on podcasts. Now, going on podcasts is a great way to build backlinks, and I'll share how. I've been on a few podcasts this year, and when I've gone on a podcast, I realized that they have a summary, they write it up, and they link to my websites. And not only do they link on their Spotify or on their YouTube, but also if they have a blog, they're usually doing a summary page, and I also get mentioned there. And that's the best way to get a backlink, a quality link for your website. Now, this does require you to find a podcast opportunity, and nowadays, everyone has a podcast. So you can find opportunities, and sometimes companies, big companies, have podcasts, but they're not getting a lot of traction because everyone and their mom has a podcast. But there are opportunities, and getting on there is actually really great, because not only do you get exposure to a new audience, but I've been able to get leads that way, because I was talking about SEO and then someone listened to it and say, hey, I listened to your podcast. So it's super underrated strategy that I'm actually going to start to invest more in. So podcast is where it's at. It's great for getting new leads, building exposure for your business and yourself, and also getting a link on their website. Next is mentioning companies, influencers, experts in your blog posts. Now, let me give you an example. So let's say I'm going to write an article about best SEO tips. And in the article, I'm writing all my ideas of what can help to grow your SEO in 2026. But what I also do is I quote from other experts in the industry. And sometimes they're not super famous, but I follow them. I go on a company's website and I see that they did something really well, and I mention it. So for example, I would say you should write articles like this company because they're doing a killer job. I love to read Buffer's blog posts, and any opportunity I get, I always mention them. And after that, I send them an email and I said, hey guys, I loved your article about X. I mentioned it in my new article. Feel free to share with your audience. Now, the response rate can vary anywhere from 20 to 50%, but especially if it's a smaller blogger, you're not going towards the big guys, they'll respond back and say, thank you. And sometimes they'll share your post. And then that builds a relationship with them. And that's where you can go in and say, hey, by the way, Would you like to contribute on our side, or can we contribute something on your side? Or find a way to collaborate. And it can expand to much more than just a backlink opportunity, a content partnership, or so many other things. So when you start to write articles, make sure to mention different companies, experts, influencers, and then send them an email after the post is published to let them know. And that's a great way to let them know that they've been featured, that you're a fan of them, that you admire them, and a great relationship opportunity that goes beyond SEO. Create a business profile on listing directories. Listing directories can be anything like Google My Business, which is the most popular, Yelp, G2, Trustpilot, Apple Maps. There are so many, and it just depends on which industry you are. And we've seen these sites, great examples like Yelp, where you can create your profile into your website. Now, this is not exactly a do follow link, and it's not the type of link that's going to transform your visibility, but it does help because it tells Google that you're listed in different websites. And if you can get reviews on there, that's going to help you. So I try to take advantage for my agency to be listed on Yelp. I have reviews on other agency directories like SEO Rush, Good Firms. So you have to find what's best for your industry. And if you need help finding business directories that are good for you and your business, feel free to schedule a consultation with me and I'll show you the best recommendations. Next, answer questions on Quora and share links to your related resource. For example, if I go to Quora and I'd say, type in best SEO tips, and there's going to be people asking, what are the best SEO tips or something related to that phrase. So I would go in there and share my tips and mention, let's say if it's about backlink strategies, I'll share some of the tips that we just went over right now. And then I'll mention, if you want to read more, you can put a link to your website. Now, again, this is not a do follow link, but it is, I found, one of the most effective ways to gather traffic, because some of these answers get thousands of views. And not only that, you're getting views and traffic that is very directed to what's your pain point, your product, or your services are about. So the quality traffic is really good. Now, Quora has been a little bit more strict, as they should, to prevent spammers from just posting your link. So in the beginning, if you're brand new to Quora, you do need to make sure that you are contributing to the community, that you're answering questions, that you're up, liking, voting, and not putting links right away. But after you get some traction and after you show some good trust signals, and as long as you're helping answer the question and providing value, then you are allowed to put links. But again, it's all about intention and making sure you're actually helping your audience and answering a question. Now with Reddit, it's a little bit more strict, as they have different guidelines by community, so it could work, but I found that Quora is a little bit better with that. And then also, there are so many other community forums if you're into car parts, into comics, or industry associations. There's always a lot of forums, and you probably know ones that are really good for your industry. Next, ask your contacts to write a guest post on their website. Now, I mentioned the guest post program, but this strategy is looking at previous partners that you worked with, or coworkers, or anybody you know who has a website that is relevant to your industry. Now, if you have a gardening website and then you try to get a link on a health and fitness, maybe that's not the right match, but let's say if it's just general business, that will make more sense. But with guest post outreach, it's so hard nowadays to be able to contribute an article unless you're super famous and a topic expert. They're going to make you pay. And then most of the time when they make you pay, the quality of the link is not so good. So I always advise to just use your network, people you know, or go and meet people with websites. Go to meetups, local meetups, entrepreneurs, industry associations, your contacts. You will know someone who has a website who can maybe let you contribute an article. Now, those are my tips for acquiring backlinks in 2026. And I intentionally didn't mention the most common backlink tips, which is the white link, backlink, and all these other skyscraping things. Those are so hard. So I do things very differently. And these are actually things that I do for myself and my clients. So I can vouch for this. And if you need more guidance with backlinks, especially if you're buying them, You have to be very careful because, again, a lot of these are just spam, and Google is getting really smart in knowing any schemes, so advise them against that. And if you're buying too many links too, that is going to damage your website. So be very careful. My name is Jose. I own Jose Angelo Studios, an SEO agency, and we have over 15 years of SEO experience. To book a free SEO consultation, the link is in the description, and subscribe for more videos where I'm sharing more SEO tips about backlinks, keyword strategies, content strategy. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.